transition to the Neighborhood Food Network. I hope everybody has had a chance to see the lovely website that Anne made. Isn't it beautiful? Yay! I love it. And it's all about people sharing food and connecting with each other. You can go to, we're still getting all of the different things together here on the blog, and the resources, videos. We eventually will have, preserving the harvest. That'll be, closer towards the summer. Here you can sign up, you can get the newsletter, all that stuff. I just want to make sure everybody can see the website, and I will explain. Let me stop sharing for a minute, just in case anybody's first time hearing about this. So the Neighborhood Food Network was inspired by the Neighborhood Watch program. So the Neighborhood Watch program is set up such that if you get a representative from one representative from at least 50% of your households on your street to come to a meeting at your house or backyard or front yard or whatever, then the policeman will come out and will educate your neighbors on crime, neighborhood crime watch and crime prevention and emergency preparedness. So I thought this is, that's great. By the way, in the emergency preparedness part, they say everybody should have 2 weeks worth of food in your house, because if there's an emergency like an earthquake or fires or whatever, you cannot count on FEMA to come help you and save you for 2 weeks, because they go to the schools and the hospitals and the senior centers first. So if you have a residence, you should always have 2 weeks worth of food in your house. And that includes food that doesn't even need cooked with water, because if the power goes out, you cannot get water. Your water will stop. So you've got to have 2 weeks worth of water. I don't know many people who have that. That is, so something to think about as far as preparedness, at least 2 weeks worth. So anyway, I started thinking about those types of issues, and the food prices and the weather changes, all of the different impacts that the farmers, especially in the Midwest, are having growing grains. And I thought, why not have a neighborhood food network where you get hopefully 50%, maybe more, of your neighbors together, and you all organize and strategize and mobilize to create food security on your street. And that would mean talking together about how you can grow enough food or source enough food from local organic farmers or co-ops or CSAs, in case just in case the gas pipelines have been hacked by whatever, hackers, and the grocery stores are empty, which is a very real possibility. Sorry, but it's a very real possibility, could happen, and not just from gas pipelines, but power outages from war or whatever, things happening, right? Weather, all kinds of things. So yes, so you can gather your neighbors together. That's the goal, is to gather your neighbors together and to have a meeting. And we have some information. I'm just going to share what we're uploading. I'm not sure if it has been. Anne, has the first meeting flyer been uploaded to the website?
No.
Okay. So
I've just done the sign up sheet and the flyer. Okay. Apparently I have to fix something.
So I have a first meeting flyer that will be uploaded. There's the logo at the top, but for some reason it's not showing up right now. So for instance, we have, first, I'm sorry, let me back up. First, you can go to flyers and you can get the invitation. So you can download the invitation and then walk around in your street, your area. I did that this weekend. So I just print these out, and then you cut them in half, you put your information on here first, and then you photocopy it. Then you cut it in half. So I did this 20 times. So I had 40 flyers, and I went and walked around. I suggest you don't do it in the middle of the day like I did, so you're scorching hot. Do it in the mornings or late afternoon, and go meet your neighbors. And I'm supposed to tell you it's not legal to put a flyer in a mailbox, but you're a big person. If you decide to do that, that's up to you. But it is best to meet people and talk to them about it. And if you can't meet them, then put the flyer underneath their doors, their front mat. So I did that, and I met probably a third of my neighbors. Most people weren't home. But I have to say, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, because I may have a slightly different perspective about neighbors than some people. Maybe not. Maybe you can relate to me. But I lived in New York City for 9 years, and I purposely did not want to know my neighbors. because I had experienced a lot of crazy people in New York. Like I was walking down the street one night at probably, midnight or 1 a.m. with one of my girlfriends. We'd gone out to a nightclub, and she looked at some homeless people on the side of the sidewalk. And I guess they didn't like how she looked at them. And when we went down into the subway, the homeless person threw an air conditioner and it whisked the top of her head. Like an air conditioner almost took her head off because she looked at this person funny, right? So I have had a lot of stress about meeting people, people around me, and like, what if you meet your neighbor and they turn out to be crazy, and then they intentionally, like, they're thumping the floor all the time just to piss you off. You know what I mean? Like I've had stress about meeting neighbors. So for me to go out and try to meet all my neighbors and rally people together and gather them and, be inviting and friendly was a little bit of a stressor for me. So I don't know if anybody else can relate or not, but yeah, a little bit. Okay. So, but everybody was super nice. Everybody was super nice and very appreciative. They didn't all say they were going to come. They said, we'll see. But I found out that half my neighbors are cousins. They're all kin and related to each other. And I just thought that was really cute and really friendly. They've just talked about all their family. And then the other half of the neighbors are mostly somewhat local from different places in North Carolina, but some that are, have moved here from other places. So it'll be a really good mixture if people show up, of, people from different areas. So I'm hoping they'll come. And I set mine for 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And my plan is just to buy a whole bunch of organic bagels, because you can freeze those if people don't show up, right? Like we can eat those later. Pastries would be harder. Plus you can't find organic pastries hardly anywhere. So I'm just doing organic bagels and, vegan cream cheese and regular cream cheese and orange juice and coffee. So it's not like lunch, you know what I mean? And people can just take half a bagel. It doesn't have to be, so if I have enough food, hopefully I'll have enough food for them. But it's not really at breakfast time. So they probably will come already, somewhat fed. But, and then, so that's the invitation. And that's the invitation. And then I will screen share the first meeting. That this is what, and we will have this uploaded on the website so you can look at this. So I will just go through this pretty quickly. What I intend is to have the meeting be about an hour. And in the first minute, meet and greet everybody and tell them the reasons for the initiative. I will tell them the intention of the meeting, right? Like we are here today to, number one, meet and greet all of our neighbors. And number two, I'm going to present the reason for this neighborhood food network initiative and invite you all to participate. And just for workability, I'm going to request that everybody be friendly, that this is a politics-free zone, right? Because no matter whether you're Democrat or Republican, we all need to eat. So we'll just keep politics out of the conversation today. We'll focus on food. If everybody could turn your cell phones off, and our goal is to keep this meeting to an hour. So, we invite, if you do share or ask a question, to keep it succinct, and on topic. And we will ask you for your emails, and if you can, your telephone, for further communication afterwards. And that sign up sheet is it on the website as well, Anne?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that sign up sheet is only to be used.
You need to refresh.
Okay. It's only to be used for communication about this program and not to, sell products and things like that. Where is it? I don't see it.
Well, I see it.
You can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I can screen share, but it's underneath the color invitation, and it says sign up sheet. You can download it.
Okay. Anyway, there's a sign up sheet. I can't see it right now. So I would explain that. And then that for the next 15 minutes, I invite people to go around in a circle and say their name and a skill that they can contribute to the community. Like, my name's Jack and I'm a plumber. That'd be awesome to know, right? If you have a plumber in your community, or a carpenter, or, I don't know, a tech guy, right? Like, so it's good to know that. So you just and you demonstrate so that you don't tell a whole long story, right? You just say your name and your skill, and then the next person maybe next to you will be your husband. So he'll do it the same way. So that way you're not getting a big, long backstory, right, from people. And then the why, it's so about 5 minutes, I guess I would spend on this, would just be all the different reasons why the neighborhood food network is important. And you all know them, you know, food prices are going up, food access is becoming increasingly difficult. Food prices are projected to rise 300 to 400% within the next 3 years. I mean, that is really scary, folks. I don't think most of our incomes are going to be rising 300 to 400%, right? So that's a very big reason. And then also the current food system is toxic, right? The soil is toxic. It's making us sick. It's nutrient deficient, which is contributing to mental health issues, obesity, and weakening our immune systems, contributing to shutdowns. And in time of crisis, it only takes 9 missed meals for a person to resort to violence to feed their family. So in a time of crisis, we have the opportunity to be a support to each other, right? Instead of being a threat to each other. So that's the reason for all of us connecting and supporting each other. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect, strategize, and organize and mobilize to grow and source enough food to feed every person on the street. And with a goal of 3 years, you know, target of being able to do that, you know, may not be doing it, but being able to. And then offer free weekly calls, street only email connection, like just our street. You know, this is not next door. This is not 2,000 neighbors in your county, right? So this is just your street. And planning materials, and then gather and share local non-toxic farmers, CSAs, and co-op sources. So if somebody doesn't want to grow food, this is the job you want to ask them to do, right? Can you be the one to research and find local CSAs and co-op sources and stuff like that? And then how we're going to do it. And that just says, this just talks about some of the structure. So you would say that, you know, in-person local meeting. If you all with your in-person, your neighbors, you want to do this once a month, or you want to wait until harvest time and do it every week so that you can share food during harvest time. I know there's people who do seed swaps, you know, like once a month or every other week or something like that. So you guys decide what you'd like to do about that. We will continue to have the Monday night the Neighborhood Food Network coaching calls like we are right now, and they can join onto those calls. There's a website that's in progress, and there's gardening support that we're going to be offering as well through the website, and sharing sources via the email, right, connections that you will all be able to do that, local sources. And then where we're going to do it, on your street, your front and backyards, rooftops, terraces, walls, hay bales, raised or in-ground beds, pots, and tower gardens. And you can do that on donated or leased land, school or church or community center, if those places are on your street. So this is not a community garden initiative where you're going, you know, somewhere 12 streets over and growing food. This is for your street. So, you know, if it's like on your street, or if you want to have that be part of it, fine. But we're not talking about feeding everybody from that community garden, right? We're talking about feeding the people just on your street. So it's more manageable. And then and the time is right now. So now, you know, keep in mind, it takes 7 years for some fruit trees to really be prolific. So it's like, now is a great time to start. And then some first steps. These were all created by Anne, of course, who has been through this process a couple of times at different homes. Agree to be a part of the network and grow or source local non-toxic foods, the first step, and then start saving cardboard for your garden bed. And she's going to talk more about that, and saving yogurt cups or other containers to start your seeds, or direct sow. Get chip drop for free mulch, buy soil for your raised bed, or direct sow in the ground, and find free pallets to make a composter. So this would take total of about 34 minutes for the facilitator, with the introduction time allowing about 26 minutes for questions and answers. And that's that. And then some of the resources we're going to have are things that are going to be like this, which I think honestly is really very interesting. I don't know why the logo is not showing
I
up
don't either.
at the top of my. Oh no, now I've done it. Now none of the images are showing up. Something. Did I share that document with you, Anne?
Yes, let me see if I can
I
pull
think
up.
I need you to share it then. Something is going on with it. Oh no, now it's sharing. Hang on, I got it. Okay, so this document is really interesting. I want you guys to see that we tallied up, we did the data, we dove into this. So we have I just chose some of the most popular types of foods, right? This is just a sample. Potatoes, garlic, bush beans, you can read them all here. Beans, spinach, peas, onions, tomatoes, corn, peppers, sweet potatoes. And so these are all things that most people can grow in their backyards. Like we're not growing wheat and barley, okay? Like much harder to grow, right, in your backyard. So these are all things most people can grow. And we have here the number of plants needed per person per year to feed a person, the number of space in inches between the plants that you need, the total amount of space needed in inches to grow those plants, and then the total amount of space needed in feet, and the space apart, the rows, like how far apart the rows are, and then the number of people in a family or a community. We just put, for the sake of purposes, we put 4 here for a family. And so the total number of plants is 80 plants, and the space required is 200 square feet for potatoes to feed a whole family for a year. And we did this with several different foods. You can see here, garlic, 30 square feet, bush beans, 20, lettuce, 115, tomatoes, a hog, 513. And this all comes out to 0.03 of an acre. That's not much. It's not much to grow all of this food to feed a family for a year. That's not much. And then look, if you want to grow all of this food to feed 120 people, it's 1 acre. Holy mackerel, you can grow a lot of food, right, to feed a lot of people in a decent amount of space. And so, you know, a lot of people backyards, they have backyards that are 1/3 of an acre or 1/4 of an acre. Like clearly we can grow enough food. Right now, there's many other foods you could add to this. We have a whole huge list of foods in my son's survival preparedness document. He's a kind of like a survival preparedness expert. So we have this whole huge list, right, of all these. We've got herbs and we've got trees, and we're working on this. It's a work in progress. And this would require, if you wanted to grow all of these foods for 120 people, that would require 15 acres. That is a lot of acreage. So, you know, clearly in a survival situation, you would need to have more land, you know, donated from a church or, you know, somewhere, you know, you would have to branch out and get more food. So that's just an example. So I want to pass it over to Anne, though. She's got a great little layout presentation to talk about today. So
okay.
Take it away, Anne.
So I just want to let people know that seed starting kind of scares a lot of people, but I basically decided to convert my laundry room into growing seeds, and it kind of took off. And I will, oops. So this was the first year I decided. I spent some money. I bought these lights. And I put up some trays, and I was growing this, and I realized really quickly that I was not going to have enough. So I had my friend Michelle's husband come over. He hooked up all this electric, as you can see right here on the wall, and he also did it on the ceiling, and I'll show you another picture. And there was some initial investment. Oh, and I decoupaged the wall because
I love your wall. It's beautiful.
And so this year I was laying out all my Baker Creek seeds and trying to get organized on what I was going to plant. And up here you can see my Michelle's husband Rock put all this electric up here on the ceiling. So it worked out fantastic. So my brother was nice enough, and he went out and bought me all these shelves. So this is a picture I took today. I have a little bit of a fungus gnat problem, so you see all these little sticky things on all the pots, but that works pretty good. Anyway, so
how can you tell us the initial investment for all those lights?
No, probably about $300 or $400.
Okay.
And and I bought I was buying a lot on Amazon, and I bought all these trays, but they're done. I'm done. I don't have to buy any of these anymore. So anyway,
can I just add in, we bought some LED lights that go on a string that are a lot cheaper, that you like are sticky, like sticky LED lights. And I think my husband bought those because some other grower person said that you can also use those, that they work too.
Well, they're
So,
saying that you can also buy those fluorescent shop lights, but the LED lights
yes,
will pull a lot less power.
right, yes. So there are other options other than these swanky lights you
And
got going on.
and during the winter, I had an oil-filled radiator going on down here to keep it a little warmer. And I also have a lot of heating pads underneath here. But as soon as the plant starts to sprout, then you should turn the heating pad off. The one thing about the lights that's so important is people try to stick their seeds in a window and the plants get super leggy and then they won't be able to sustain themselves and they kind of fall over and die. So anyway, I ran out of room. So here, this is my chest freezer, which has been converted into another growing space. And I bought a bag of all these little hooks I screwed into the wood. And so and this is
Hang on a second, Ann, can you go back to that? So the benefit for this is that you can raise or lower those lights as needed.
yes.
Is that it?
So you're supposed to have the lights about 2 inches from the plants. In fact, this one with all this basil I just repotted the other day, I probably could have that a little bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
But then so I decided to do an inventory of everything I was growing because I have no idea. It's like every other day I have seeds coming in the mail. I think I need a 12-step program. Anyway, so this was my list of what I'm growing. So I have a lot of flowers and herbs and
That's
just
beautiful.
all these. I think I'm going to be planting about 70 to 80 tomato plants this year. And I can a lot of them and I make pasta sauce that I put in the freezer and also can, but it's just so much fun. And so this is what I'm growing, and now pretty soon in May, our Mark might be able to answer it because I keep getting different dates. I think May 15th might be my last frost date, or it says the end of May is supposed to be our last frost date, but I get confused.
Oh, I'm in 7B and ours is Mother's Day, which is May 8th. But I've looked at the weather up until then and there's no freezing. There's no frost date. So technically we could take a chance. I mean, something weird might happen, but we technically could take a chance and start planting. But what I'm doing right now is hardening off the tomatoes. Do you want to talk? Do you do that?
Yes.
Can you talk
So
about that a
yes.
little bit?
So like the first day, it's funny because I'm like become a garbage picker, especially when people have big stuff. Somebody had a tabletop out by their garbage. They had no legs on it. I took it and I put it on a sawhorse in my backyard. And now I bring my plants out for a couple hours the first day. And then the second day, you take them out a little bit longer just to get them used to the full sun and the weather. And that's what's called hardening off.
And you do it for how many days?
Probably about 2 or 3 days.
Beforehand? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, last year I planted my tomatoes way too early and they were literally they were flowering in my basement. So I don't remember if I hardened those off, and they all did pretty well.
Yeah. So Hillary, just to answer your question about will these calls repeat this information? No, we won't be repeating this information each week. People would have to be looking back. The goal right now, we're sort of just like getting started with things, but and Ann's she's gonna show you a little bit more. But we want to have each week like this is what you need to do this week. So we're gonna get to that with Ann. So this week, and then so that you can go buy those materials this week, and then this weekend you do it, and then the next week you'll come back. And if anybody had any problems with it, we can talk about that to sort of recap. But each week is going to be like this is what you need to do this week, and I need this because there's so many things I didn't do last year. I didn't plant my corn till way too late. I could have been planted already. My potatoes could have been planted already. Like my biggest struggle with this is not how to do things, but it's when to do them and like doing them when you're supposed to do them because Mother Nature doesn't wait, right? So that's what we hope to do every single week.
And different zones, obviously have different growing times. Like you have a longer growing season than I do up here.
Yes. Yeah.
So
where are you, Ann?
What's that?
I'm in Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's in Wisconsin.
I
on
actually
farm
live
North
in, I
Carolina.
actually live in the city of Milwaukee. I have a city lot, so the fact that I got my yard is pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
So
it
there
is.
are,
Okay, keep going, Ann. Show your yard
okay,
pictures.
so this was my yard. It was all grass, and basically I started collecting um lots of cardboard boxes. I was going behind grocery stores. I was getting cardboard boxes from them. I was having my neighbors bring me over cardboard boxes. And I was just laying them down on the grass. I didn't dig up any grass. I didn't do anything. And then this get chip drop that Zen talked about earlier.
So she's showing you, I just want to read, you're not just telling a nice story here. She's showing you step by step. So this is what you can do.
Yes.
So you can start getting your cardboard boxes, laying them down. And like, yeah, you don't need to even have a tiller, all that kind of stuff.
And I would also go to the website and look up getchipdrop.com and sign up. There it is. And they'll literally, you just log in, you'll sign up for an account. They literally have a little map that shows you exactly where your house is. And then you fill out the form and they ask you if you have any special requests. And I always put, I do not want black walnut. You don't want any arborists bringing you black walnut because it's got juglone, which can be toxic, and plants really don't like to grow in that. And
black walnut, everybody got that? Make sure you do not want black walnut.
They also will ask you if you want logs, and sometimes people want logs. I built some bins with logs, but I usually say no logs, just the wood chips. So then here they are, they're coming. Luckily I have a field behind my yard, so they were able to just back right up and dump it. Usually they'll dump it in your driveway, which is fine. My next door neighbor did that. Okay, so here's my backyard. And so I started laying the cardboard down, and then I started laying the wood chips on top, probably about 6 to 12 inches. And then I would put on, so then I was adding soil. I might be out of order here. And then I added soil, and then I planted it. And some of the neighborhood kids wanted to know what was going on. They came over, we put them to work. It was a lot of fun. And I just started planting, and then I started adding cattle panels, and I put this up myself, and I'm 62 years old. So, and that's when stuff started to grow. And then I got some pallets, and I built this myself. If you could see, I just tied it together with rope. And to do compost, when we'll be talking about this in more detail, you don't even need to have a bin. You can just start piling stuff up and saving your food scraps and saving your newspapers. You need nitrogen and you need carbon. Almost like layering it, and it will break it down.
Can you give examples of nitrogen and carbon substances?
So nitrogen would be your grass clippings, your food, and your carbon would be the dried leaves. And you can put I put wood chips in. Charlie, you cannot walk on my computer. So I would kind of layer that. The first year I had Will Allen come help me, and he did the whole thing with just wood chips and food. I didn't really have anything else. And it ended up breaking down, but it took 2 years. So I used that this year. And my second one, I did more with grass clippings. That the guy who has the field behind me, he would come mow it, and I'd wait a day, and then I'd go out there and rake it all up and bring it back in and put it in my compost pile.
You know what you can also do with your grass clippings is just put them in a bucket with water and let it sit there for, I think it's like 3 weeks, and it will stink to high heaven, but you're creating nitrogen, and you're creating a fertilizer. It's awesome. You water your plants with it, you dilute it down, and then you water your plants with it, and it's awesome. You can also put a cup of chicken poop into a 5-gallon bucket, and or a cup or two, but not a lot, just a couple cups of chicken poop in a 5-gallon bucket, and let it sit for 3 days. And if your peppers are yellowing, if your plants start to yellow, that means they need nitrogen. And sometimes the wood chips in the mulch that you buy, the woods draws out the nitrogen. So if you put the chicken poop liquid 1 cup to like a gallon of it. So you can dilute it down again even. If you put that on the peppers, then it will put the nitrogen back in and your peppers will look awesome and beautiful. So you have fertilizer right in your yard, either chickens or grass or weeds. You can make your own fertilizer. You don't have
So
to buy it.
my neighbor had put out like a dog gate and he had some, it was some screening on it. So I took that out of his garbage and brought it back. And I took this compost that had the wood chips and sifted it into my wheelbarrow. And I took the wood chips and put them in a bucket and filled all about 3 5-gallon buckets. And I just filled them all with water. So I'm going to make a compost tea out of that because I don't have any chickens then.
I know. Well, somebody in your neighborhood might, but
Well, my neighbors do. She just brought me over a wheelbarrow of rabbit poop yesterday. So
rabbit poop. See, that's good too. Good. It doesn't smell nearly as bad. Hillary's asking, what's the purpose of the wood chips? It's not under the soil, is it? You're putting it on the side in order to walk on so that you're preventing the weed growth?
so it's I'm putting the so the whole garden you can see is all wood chips, but the beds I was building, you put the wood chips down and then I put the soil on top of that and then I was planting it. Within 3 years, that bottom layer of wood chips is going to be broken down to beautiful soil.
Oh, okay.
If you read up on like this, the Garden of Eden type gardening, there's a guy, I think he's in Oregon, and he covered his whole property he bought out there in wood chips. And he says he doesn't fertilize, he doesn't water, he doesn't do anything because the wood chips eventually will break down.
But Frankie's saying you can also put the wood chips on top like mulch, right?
Yeah, I don't really like to, you can do that. I didn't really do that. This year I plan on planting pretty heavily. In fact, okay, so I started finding old pieces of wood and kind of putting edging up on my thing just to try to create more of a raised bed thing. And I just started planting and planting and planting. You can see my garden got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the one expense that you may have, the wood chips, is free. You can give a donation if you want to. Sometimes I'll just give $20. The wood chips, but the wood chips are free. The soil might be your only expense. I mean, you can get your soil, you can go to your local extension and get your soil tested if you want. But my property used to be an old farm. So I dug down and the soil seemed pretty good and I could have used it, but I did go buy some compost to get started the first year. I don't think I'm going to have to buy any this year. But so, yeah, it just kind of took
Look
off.
how beautiful.
And it became my happy place. I love being out here more than any place else. And it got bigger and bigger. I bought a bird bath. Well, so my neighbor put bees in the back and I bought a bird bath and put one of those little solar fountains in. I bought a bird bath.
Gorgeous. Is that calendula flowers growing there too?
Yeah, that's calendula, zinnias, and you can see the sunflowers in the back.
Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous.
Right here is that's a zucchini, but this was a lettuce plant. I don't remember what kind, but I let it go to seed, and I have a brown paper bag downstairs with all the seed heads in there, and I tested it last winter and threw some into some soil, and they all sprouted. So a couple of your plants, if you can get a big enough garden where you can dedicate a few of your plants to go to seed, then you can also save by not having to buy seeds.
Yeah, I did that with my flowers this year, save the seeds.
All my zinnias I saved from seeds.
Mm-hmm. So Mark is saying he loves it. He's a farmer, so he knows. And he's saying you can grow peas, beans, and clover for nitrogen. And to put that in the soil, right? So you could do that a winter crop. And then chicken manure high in nitrogen, but organic standards require 120 days to avoid health concerns of raw manure that is not composted. Okay, very good point. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Yeah, so a lot of chicken farmers just clean it out in the fall and compost it, and clean it out in the spring and compost it, right? And then use the following year's stuff. Sometimes even people let it sit for 2 or 3 years.
So rabbit poop you can use right away. I just sprinkled it on my bed. Chicken poop.
Rabbit poop. That's my favorite. I love my rabbits.
Chicken poop you have to compost.
Yeah, you can use rabbit poop right away. And rabbit poop has the highest amount of magnesium and potassium and a bunch of good nutrients. So it's
Oh,
the best.
really?
Yep, it's the
Good.
highest. It's rabbit poop is the best. And it's so you can use it right away. It doesn't smell. The rabbit pee smells, and the rabbit urine is pretty toxic. So you don't want to get your hands in that. But it's also a pesticide. So if it's mixed in with your poop and you're putting that right on your garden, it's totally fine because it will, get rid of all the pests and stuff too.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then I put I put the arbor I bought, and I had a friend help me put it in because it was a little, but the fencing I put in myself.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I mean, all this I did pretty much myself. My friend Michelle, she would come over and help me. And so now this is something I just did a few weeks ago. So there was a man, and I forgot to put the picture, and he was selling pavers. This is a great resource for everybody. You go on Facebook and people are selling, they're selling bricks and stone and stuff. And this guy was giving them away. It took me 2 truckloads of these pavers to get them back to my house.
What are they?
They're,
Can you show them? Can you show
yeah.
the picture in the truck?
No, I forgot to put it in here, but
I know, I just saw it. You just flipped past it.
I did.
Yeah, I saw it. Okay, well, keep going again.
So anyway,
Okay.
I decided right here on the other side of the fence, because my garden was pretty much full. My daughter's saying I'm going to run out of yard, but I don't think so. Anyway, so I went and started gathering a bunch of cardboard, and I set it down, and I put this metal, I'm pointing at my computer. Oops. I put this metal stake in the middle right here. And I tied a string at 3 feet, so it was 6 foot circumference. And then I started laying down the bricks. And and they're not glued down, so I'm probably going to regret this because next spring they'll probably be all falling down, but that's okay. And so then I decided just to build these circles, and then I filled it up with wood chips, and then I put this is all the wood chips, and I used the wood chips from the lower part of my old wood chip pile, so they're a little more decayed, so they'll turn into soil quicker. And then I filled it in with some more compost and soil. And this was chamomile. I have chamomile coming up everywhere. So I decided, and all my other herbs are down in the basement getting ready to be planted, but this will be my little herb garden. And these bricks were all free. And they're just a great resource. I love going on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. There's always people giving away stuff that you're going to use. And when you become a gardener, you're going to start looking at things like not what it is, but what it can be. So it's just so much fun. And you're giving new life to things. And you're growing food. And I gave away so much food last year. I was walking around to the neighbors with a big, huge basket of jalapenos that I had planted way too many. And, I was like, do you guys like spicy food? Well, yeah. So I'd take like 2 jalapenos. No, take some more. It's like, oh, thanks. So for this meeting, I also wanted to tell one of those flats down in my basement, I'm starting it's a hybrid type of beefsteak tomato. So it doesn't need to be staked up. It's a determinate. Now, determinate means it's only going to grow to like a certain height and then it's done. Indeterminate tomatoes will keep growing and you have to stake them up. Some of them get 10 or 12 feet high and they'll produce until frost kills it. So I grew a whole flat of determinate beefsteak tomatoes so that everybody who comes to the meeting is going to go home with a tomato. That's why I was asking my neighbors, do you eat yogurt? And he says, yes. And I said, can you start saving the cups? And I'll just drill a little hole in the bottom of it. So I'm keeping my expenses low. And
we like free. We like free.
Yes. And so like Zen said, I live on the north side of Milwaukee. It's not the best area, folks. We have pretty high crime rate around here. So I'm, but so far and I'm pretty much the minority in this area. But
she's the white woman walking around.
I'm the crazy white woman. Yeah. Crazy white woman.
You can stop screen sharing if that's the last picture, right?
Yeah. And, but like Zen said, every single person that I have met and I've talked to about this, they're like totally, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. So Well,
So you never know. Yeah. I mean, and people are aware now. They are seeing on mainstream media that there are food shortages and food prices are going up. And, this is not just like some conspiracy theory. I was watching today all the Bitcoin stuff and gold and, financial market stuff. And these major financial market people are predicting food prices climbing and, all kinds of inflation happening for the next 10 years. I mean, they're just like, this is going to be, it's a whole cycle that's going on and there's long reaching effects. And why do I think MSM is telling us this? I think it's partially because it's actually happening. And, I think that you can see what's happening out there, but I think you may be implying that they just want to make us fearful. If that's the case, then you know what we say on our website is prepare for the worst, but expect the best. So prepare for the worst case scenario means that you're not ignoring what could potentially happen. You're actually preparing for it, but you're also expecting the best in people, which is that they will be compassionate and generous and work in partnership and not just ignore each other, right? In a times of crisis or be a threat to each other.
That's one of the things about the whole neighborhood food network is that I'm hoping here is that it brings my street together.
Yeah, brings your street. Yeah, so let's just say no crisis happens at all. Okay, some miracle happens and everybody gets their stuff sorted out. Hey, the worst case scenario, or not worst case, the result is you're connected with your neighbors and you know somebody and you know a lot more people, and those people are much more likely to share something with you, come help you out if your truck is stuck, like not rob your house if there is an emergency someday. You know what I mean? Like the result is you've gotten to know your neighbors and you're connected. Like, and for me, I was thinking, oh, my sons might be able to work for them. My son's made $300 working for one of the neighbors over the past couple of weeks. Like that really helps him, and he doesn't have to go get a job. He can just work outside helping them build their greenhouse. So yeah, Sherry's saying, yeah, the Great Reset will not happen if we work together. Yeah, they want us to like not own stuff and rent everything and no, that's baloney, right? That's not going to happen. People are going to work together. They're going to I think people are used to having their stuff and their backyards and their food and their gardens, and we're going to continue to be able to do a lot of these things that we have done, but we are going to need to be creative and work together. Does anybody have any questions? Let me go through again. The actions for this week are to, kind of agree to be a part of a food network and be somebody who's going to initiate this meeting on your street. So you download that flyer, you pick a date, starting pretty much Mother's Day and on is when you can be planting. So anytime between now and then would be a great time to start. And then you would save cardboard for your garden bed if you're going to do it that way. Some people till right into the ground. And a lot of people promote, not tilling, not disrupting the soil. If you can do that, that's great. I have a particular area where there's very thick grasses, like the really big bushy grasses that I think I'm just going to have to till because I don't know, like.
I agree. I was there.
You see it. Yeah. It's like really tall grasses, but only for the first year. You till in, and then I work in my rabbit poop in and, get it all going. And all that grass will become fertilizer in the soil. And so it'll be organic matter. So I'm going to rent a tiller. And actually for my first meeting on Saturday, I think we're going to till on Sunday. I'm going to say we've rented a tiller, right? We only need it for an hour or so, probably on the day. So if anybody else wants to borrow it tomorrow, we
better be a big one.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty big. So yeah. So anyway, we can, we could share tools and stuff like that too with people. So, spreading goodwill. So then, and she's got on the list here, let me just put these first steps in so that you have them. Save your yogurt cups or containers. Like I just used Dixie cups for a lot of my tomatoes. You have to, once you get your tomatoes growing and they're in the small, really tiny ones, and they need to get bigger, you put them in bigger cups, right? So you transfer them into bigger cups. And then their roots get bigger before you put them outside. And before you plant your tomatoes, keep your eggshells, your organic eggshells, and crush your tomato shells up and put them in the bottom of the tomato hole, along with a tablespoon of Epsom salts.
So I bake my eggshells and then I grind them up in my Vitamix.
Yeah, I don't do that. I just felt Howard Bliggard said, just put the whole eggshell in. You don't have to wash them, keep all the gooey stuff on, just break them up and put them right in the bottom of the hole. But there's many different ways to do it. There's not only one way to do it. So, and then I add a few rabbit poops in there, and but you don't have to do that, right? So but the eggshell and the Epsom salt, not regular salt, Epsom salt. You put that in the bottom of your tomatoes, and then you can plant those. So
What are the Epsom salts doing?
magnesium, right? And
Yeah.
magnesium.
It's magnesium and it's supposed to be fantastic. And another thing about tomatoes is if you're growing them inside and yet they end up getting too big and you have to repot them, I take off the bottom leaves and I'll dig it as deep as I can, because all those little hairs on the tomato plant will turn into roots when they're buried in the soil. So the deeper you can bury the tomato, the more root system you're going to get and a healthier plant. So
Yes, yeah, bury them deep. Mark is saying buy foil packeted seeds that store well. No seeds, no food. That's right. Thank you, Mark. Sherry's saying to trench your tomato plants.
yes,
And
you kind of almost lay them down on their side and
yeah, inside and then up. Yeah, especially if they're leggy, right? That really helps with them growing more roots and stuff like that. Yeah, and Mark is saying magnesium and sulfur is in the Epsom salts. Very important.
Yeah.
So yeah, because of Mark, I ended up planting one of my, I didn't buy enough. Because I have a 5,000 square foot vegetable garden, and I, because of Mark, I bought some cover crops. So I just dug them in this spring. But
You just dug them in, you just turned them over, like sliced
Yeah.
them off and turned them over.
yeah, in fact, I meant to ask Mark if that was what I was supposed to do. Oh, apparently I was. Great.
Okay. Yes.
Because I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't want to get rid of them. I want them back in the soil.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and that's where my onions are right now. So hopefully they're appreciative.
Yeah.
So the cover crops are to feed things, to feed the soil?
Yeah, a lot of those
Yeah,
cover crops
nitrogen.
are nitrogen fixing. And Mark, you can talk more about that.
Yeah, there's tremendous benefits. I would also use your cover crops to use it. Think of it as a soil amendment. Okay. Just like your fertilizers and manures. And you can till them in, you can crimp them to kill them. You can do a lot of things that you don't have to use herbicides. So that's really, really great to amend your soils, amend the rooting structure, the soil structure and whatnot, and keep the soil armored and covered. So I would use a 5-way, 10-way cover crop mix, anything you can get, sow it in thick, and you can till it in or you can crimp it. A lot of people take a 2x4 with a rope. They put the rope around their neck, and on the bottom of the 2x4, you could just get a 1x1 inch angle iron, and you just jump on that 2x4, and you've made a human crimper. And you crimp the cover crops then, which essentially can kill them, right? And then you can plant right into that. So
It's like a mulch.
yeah, all right. It was a living mulch, and now it's going to cover the soil. It's going to prevent weeding, and
Okay, but I have a question. It may sound really dumb, but I'm concerned. We left what we thought was, like a mulch of hay over the garden beds during the winter. And then we planted in it, but we left the hay on top, and we're not seeing anything come up. So have we left too much mulch on top and it's preventing the crops from growing?
So did you do seed or live plants?
Seeds.
Okay, and how much mulch did you put on top of the soil?
It was just it's just a thin layer of hay. It's
That
like,
shouldn't have been.
What's thin? Half inch,
Well,
quarter inch?
like quarter of an inch, like not much, just enough to keep it so that the moisture stays in and it doesn't dry up, as much.
Yeah, I assume you didn't buy rye, cereal rye.
I don't think
That
so.
has a legopathic effect. As long as your mulch wasn't rye based, it should be absolutely fine.
Okay, I think it's just the hay that the goats and the rabbits eat.
Oh, yeah, you should be okay. You bet.
Okay, all right, okay, so the plants are just taking their sweet time and coming up, that's all.
We're about 2 weeks behind schedule in Wisconsin. So this isn't a year to plant early. We're really late in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
I planted the cover crop last fall.
Great, awesome. Yep, plant
Yeah.
them throughout the year. If you have any bare soil, don't leave any bare soil in your gardens.
Right, Frank, as Frankie
Plant it
just
up to
said,
cover crop.
soil shouldn't be naked.
Right,
Yep,
yeah, yeah, that's what
absolutely.
we put leaves on it, we put hay on it, we put rabbit poop on it, like we just, I didn't want it to be bare, I wanted to cover it up, okay.
Feed your microbes and you won't have to worry about anything. Feed your microbes.
Okay,
So last fall, I have a leaf blower that I've actually used it to blow anything, and it vacuumed up all my leaves in my yard and it mulched them, and I covered all my beds with all this mulch. And this spring, when I went there and moved the leaves, the soil underneath looked absolutely
oh my gosh, we had 5
fabulous.
worms in every shovelful when we moved some stuff around, we terraced, we put a garden on the side of the hill, right? And we were digging in and we had worms in every shovelful. It was so great. Oh, Ashley, so great. Yeah, Ashley from honestseedcompany.com is giving a code for 20% off. Isn't that lovely? Oh boy, now I'm in trouble. I had to buy some.
I know.
Thank you, Ashley. That's very nice of you for being on the call too. We
Oh.
got to wrap up. It's 9:21. Does anybody have any other questions about the things that we suggested to do this week? To plan a time to have a meeting, download the flyer. Yes, yeah, Ashley, I'll follow up with you. Download the flyer, plan a meeting, look at our website at the different resources and start planning your garden bed, right? If you wanted to start with pots, then do that, right? And also, by the way, you don't have to start from seed. You can buy the starts. That's what I did with a lot of things the first year, because tomatoes and peppers were harder to grow for me. I didn't keep them at the right temperature. They have to be very warm, by the way. And you should have planted your tomatoes and peppers like, in February or something indoors, to grow them. But you can buy the starts. I would support a local FFA at a high school would be really awesome. You're supporting your local schools. They have
Farmers markets.
Farmers markets. And so you can buy the starts and just put those tomatoes and peppers in the ground. It's very easy that way. You don't have to start seeds. And I would not start with carrots. Carrots are more difficult to grow because you have to keep them germinated and wet for like 2 weeks. So there are some things that are, easier to start. Potatoes are easy and they're like a treasure hunt. You can grow them in hay if you want, just in hay on top of the ground with a bunch of hay on top. So there are things that are definitely, yes, easier, Mark.
Then my dad had a great method of doing a lot of coli crops. What he did is seeded them in a row, and then he took a 2x6 after he watered it and put it on top.
Okay.
And you'll be amazed what happens. Now, obviously, don't choose treated wood, right? Untreated
right.
wood.
Yeah.
But put that over and see what happens. And then once your crops break the soil surface, just remove it. He had unbelievable success with something that simple.
Okay, that's great. See, that's why we have this call. We just make it easy for everybody. Then you don't have to struggle like I did last year.
Oh, and what I told Zen this earlier, when you're looking for pallets, if you want to build a compost bin, there's a stamp on there. Mark confirmed this. If it says HT, that means it was heat treated and not pressure treated, which is better if you want to build compost.
Yeah, it does not mean herbicide tolerant, which is what you don't want with GMOs.
Yeah,
it means heat treated.
Yeah, and there's a stamp on there, and you'll say HT, and that's what I looked for.
I was wondering that about the wood chips when you have to worry about them being poisoned pieces of wood chopped up.
Yeah,
well, you can ask them about that. You can ask the wood chip, people like, are these wood that's been treated? But most of them, it's not. They just get these trees from landscaper places and they just chop them up in a chopper. There's no reason to treat them.
Yeah, and
if you're buying wood chips from Home Depot that is in a bag and that's been made a certain color, that's treated. You don't want those. You want the ones where just somebody had a landscaping job and just chopped up a bunch of stuff and can't wait to get rid of it. That's the number one landfill in America is green stuff from landscaping.
I had one of the arborists.
They want to get rid of it.
I always talk to the arborists when they come, and one guy said, "Hey, do you want more?" I said, "Yeah." I ended up, my doctor asked me if I was getting exercise, and I said, "Yeah, I'm gardening." And she said, "Well, that's not exercise." I said, "I moved 9 dump trucks of wood chips."
That's actually
But
awesome.
so this arborist just literally goes, "Same thing. Yep, I came home to find 2 more piles of wood chips in my garden. It was awesome."
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's so
thank
much
you.
fun.
Thank you all for being on. Frankie's saying that the Bacilla, aka Malabar spinach, oh yes, is a relatively insect-free crop. Loves heat.
Ooh, I'm gonna
Buy
have
it
to
as a
order some more
start the first
seeds. I'm
year.
gonna go to Honest Seed Company.
Yeah, Malabar spinach. I have everlasting. Is it everlasting spinach? Something like that. Yeah, it lasted through the winter. I've got lettuce that lasted through the winter and is now sprouting and growing again. I just had a big, beautiful salad today.
This is
So
hybrid smooth leaf spinach, Corvair. I've never grown it, so we'll see.
yeah. All right. Well, we will put this call, just this neighborhood food network part, especially up on Rumble and YouTube. And we will have links to it from our website, so you can refer back to it, and you can, invite other people to come check it out.
And thank you, Mark, because
yeah, thank you,
you're
Mark,
the
for adding
farmer.
in. You're welcome anytime to add in your tidbits. One of these days, maybe next week, I want to touch on planting fruit trees. So we will be talking about that. And we have a gardener who also, I'm hoping he's going to come next week, who helped us make a garden bed on a hillside. And I will show pictures of how we did that much easier than what we originally thought it was going to be. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
Grow
All
some
right.
food.
Take care. Grow some food. Have fun. Get your
Thank you
hands in
so
the dirt.
much. Have a
Okay,
great
thank
week.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Take care.